when it comes to children's external fighting and that external conflict, whether it's arguing, physically attacking a sibling or parent, whether it's the conflict of I just refuse, they cross their arms and they're just not going to do something, all of that external conflict comes from internal conflict inside our children. Children are great by their very nature, and we have the privilege and responsibility of raising them. It can be challenging at times. Let's talk about it. Hi, I'm Cynthia Armstrong. I'm a general and special education teacher. I homeschooled my own children for 5 years, and I talk about those things that I've studied, that I've applied, and that I have found really has made a difference for myself, my children, and my students, and that I feel will make a difference for you. So when it comes to that external conflict, and again, it could be with words, it could be physical fighting or attacks, or it could be a stubborn I refuse. It doesn't matter. They all stem from the same place, and that is internal conflict within us. Now, those of you who have been with me for a little bit know that if we know it as a parent or as a carer of children, then we're able to teach it. So let's take a look at ourselves for a moment. Think about a time, and it could be with like this external conflict that a child is having, where we lose it. Because I've known many parents, I've never discovered a parent who has at 100% never lost it with their kiddos. So think about when you've lost it with your kiddo before, with your child. If you think about it, it really wasn't your child's behaviors that was the reason you lost it, right? Look inside. What was really happening inside at the time? And you will find an internal conflict. Now, we might tell ourselves, oh, I know I shouldn't yell at my child, or, maybe even hit my child, or I shouldn't just get so upset I have to leave the room with my child. We might tell ourselves that, but then we have this internal conflict with, oh, but they should mind me. They should follow the rules. They should, they should. We always have, they should behave in such a way that I'm not worried about what the neighbors are thinking, or the teachers, or the stranger on the street. I shouldn't be bothered by being worried about what they're thinking of me. And so we have this conflict inside ourselves of how we want to parent, and then our internal fears of not meeting a need. And it's the same thing for our children. They might have a different way of thinking about things, or different needs they are trying to meet, but it all comes down to that same internal thing. And so let's quickly just review those basic psychological needs that we have. And children have these too, because children are people too. And so the basic need is for certainty, that safety or comfort, that all falls under certainty, as well as control. That's a big one too. We're certain that we're in control. And so that's the first one. The second one is almost like the opposite. We need some uncertainty in our life. And another way to think of that, another way to describe that is variety. We want variety in our lives. The third one is love. And really we want unconditional love, but if we feel like we can't get that love, we'll often settle for connection, whether that's a healthy connection or whether our child's getting in a lot of trouble because we connect with them when we tell them off or when we're grumpy with them. That is a type of connection that children might use to get that need, or that we might use as adults as well. And then the fourth one is unique, that we're unique in the world, that there's something special about us that nobody else has that makes me unique. And then that fifth one is growth. If we don't feel like we're growing, we feel stuck. And I hear that a lot. I just feel stuck. The same thing's happening over and over again, and I just feel stuck. And that's because we're lacking that feeling of growth. And oftentimes, because lots of needs can fit into an action. So then that last one is contribution, that we feel like we contribute to those around us, that we contribute to society. That contribution is a big one. And so let's take a little deeper look then. So if we are looking for the internal conflict our child is having, then we're not just going to come in and enforce rules, because if our job is just to enforce rules, then our children are not learning in a growth way. They're learning to be controlled, to be limited, to feel down on themselves. And so we want to go in with these behaviors in a way that is growth oriented and not just rule enforcement. So we could do that by digging in to what's going on. And we're not going to dig in a forceful way. We're going to come in a soft way, because that helps children feel unconditional love. That even when they're at their worst, we still love them. And so if we can go in that calm manner and just do a little light probing, maybe ask some questions if they're in a space to do that. If our child is in full meltdown, if they're chucking chairs or destroying things, or they're in that really deep tantrum, don't go in and ask them questions. You want to first, acknowledge feelings and acknowledge that they might need a moment. Say, this is something we need. That I would avoid the word need, because that's a little more forceful. This is something that we'll have an opportunity to talk about. I see right now may not be the best moment, or something like that. We want to come in with something that's soft, gives space for their emotion, acknowledgement of their emotion. Wow, I can see you're really struggling right now. This is something that must be really important to you, and I would love to hear about it. How about we all take a minute and, to breathe, and then we can come back and talk about it. Or it doesn't even have to be in a minute. It could be that evening. Sometimes children need like a longer space to be able to fully de-escalate, because even once their body's calm, their emotions are not always calm, and it can be easy to bring them up again. So this is an individual thing per child, something to be aware of and that you're going to go in and investigate. So we're going to ask questions. And why did you do that is not really going to give us the information that we need, and can be very accusatory and bring defenses up in children. So especially in younger children who are not able to think about thinking, and they're just going off of habits and instinct and programs that were set earlier, they're not going to know why. And so we want to ask, like what questions or how questions, especially in the younger. And as children get older, then we could begin to ask why. But we're going to ask things like, why do you think that happened? Not why did that happen or why did you do that, but just why do you think? What is something that might be behind that? And that's just like, we're here to listen. We love you, even when you're at your worst. And so we're going to investigate softly and gently and with unconditional love. When we do that, that doesn't mean there's not consequences, that they don't get to practice being kind to their sibling that they might have been harassing or harming, that they don't need to clean up a mess they made if they were destroying something. They still will have the responsibility for their actions, but we love them no matter what. And we're coming in with that growth, with the questioning, to help them grow, to help them discover, to help us discover, so that we can help them in helping them to learn to meet those psychological needs themselves. So remember, children are great by their very natures, and we have that privilege and responsibility of teaching them and raising them. Hi friends, Cynthia Armstrong here. Thanks for joining us today. Please make sure that you subscribe to our channel so you can see when new videos come out, and like this one. It is such a responsibility and a challenge to raise great kids, and we are here to help you along that journey to make it as enjoyable and fun and fulfilling as possible. Please check out our website, www.raisinggreatkids.net, and I will leave that in the description below.